Hey guys, so today I'll be making mayonnaise completely from scratch. It only uses 3 simple ingredients plus a 4th for salt because you always need flavor. We'll be using distilled white vinegar, eggs, light tasting olive oil. I recommend light tasting because sometimes olive oil can have a bitter taste to it, so light tasting doesn't have as much of that bitterness. And then, like I said, salt for flavor. So I will be making my mayonnaise into an aioli, a garlic aioli. Aioli is basically just a mayonnaise. I think it's just a fancy mayonnaise, basically. But the reason why I'm making my garlic aioli is because I actually use mayonnaise to make garlic bread instead of butter. I'm lactose intolerant, so I'm dairy free. Butter or dairy or anything like that does not agree with my digestive system, as I'm sure you know. So even though it's probably really weird that I would use mayonnaise, I know, super weird, gross, disgusting, ugh. It actually tastes delicious, and it doesn't even taste like mayonnaise. I had a friend show me his mom's recipe in a sense. I mean, he didn't really show me a written recipe, but he showed me that he made garlic bread out of mayonnaise with garlic and paprika and all this stuff. And I really thought, I was like, ew, gross. But when he cooked it up and he cut it up for us, it was delicious. It didn't even taste like mayonnaise. It was really good. So I hope you guys stick around and keep watching to see if mayonnaise tastes delicious for garlic bread. In order for me to get that delicious garlic taste into my aioli, I will be adding 1.5 cups of oil to a pot, then throwing in about 6 cloves of garlic in there, which will make a garlic confit, which is basically just cooking garlic and fat, the fat being my olive oil. There's an extra one for good luck. Once your garlic cloves start to turn golden brown delicious, you'll want to remove them from the oil before they start to burn. It can be a small time gap, so make sure you check your cloves every few minutes for the golden perfection. Now your oil will taste deliciously like garlic. I'm separating my egg yolks from my whites to get close to 1.5 ounces of yolk. You can buy eggs separated if you really wanted to. I just didn't feel the need for myself. I got 1.2 ounces of yolk out of 2 eggs. That was good enough for me. Now I'm adding 1 tablespoon of white vinegar to my yolks. These are actually new yolks because my other ones sucked. And now I'm just going to start whisking to combine that vinegar and my yolks. I will be whisking my yolks until they get kind of like frothy, really airy, bubbly, frothy, and they kind of fluffen up a little bit, and then they'll get lighter in yellow color as well. I'm really whisking with all my might just so I can get this nice frothy yolk. I had to shake out my hands because my hands and arms were already hurting from just doing that. So you can see here that my yolks were a little bit more frothy and bubbly. So now I'm going to start adding my oil in slowly. You want to do this slowly. You can't just throw your oil in and expect it all to look amazing. That's not how it's going to work. Full disclosure, it was not my choice to do this by hand. My instructor told us we had to do it by hand. If it was my choice, I would have used my stand mixer, or if you have a Roku, that would help. I ended up adding a lot of oil there. I don't know if you saw that, but I added so much and I was like, oh my God. So I had to keep whisking even harder. It was a lot of work. When I tell you it felt like I ran a marathon, I really felt like I ran a marathon after doing this, for real. You can start to see that my mayonnaise is getting thicker now. It's obviously not as thick as it should be yet, but it will get there. You're probably wondering why my bowl is sitting in a pot with a towel on it. This is helping to keep my bowl in place while I am vigorously whisking like my hand is depending on it and my other hand is pouring the oil. I know it doesn't seem like it because my bowl is still shaking all over the place, but trust me, if that towel and pot was not there, my bowl would have ended up on the floor like 5 minutes ago. My whisking lasts about 10 minutes real time. I did not put the whole 10 minutes in there, obviously, since we're already at 4 minutes into the video. But it is time consuming because you're having to add the oil slowly to make sure that everything combines correctly.
Would not recommend doing this with your hand. I would recommend using a stand mixer or a Roku.
The whisking continues, and that is unfortunately the majority of this video, but I really hope you are entertained thus far.
I hate this so much. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Wow.
So as you just saw from that clip, it's starting to look a little bit more like pudding. It's getting thick, it's getting there, it's so close, I'm almost done, and my poor arm is in so much pain.
Oh, man. looking good. Did I just run a marathon or what?
I'm starting to near the end now. I just remember being like, okay, I only have a quarter cup of oil left. Just get it in there, keep whisking, just keep going. It's almost over. Now I'm just adding the last bits of oil. You can see that it's starting to get really, really thick now. It looks good.
Oh, I think I did it. I think I did it, Callum. Oh, look at that.
So now I'm taking my garlic cloves that I fished out from my oil earlier, and I'm adding just a dash of oil to it because they're a little crunchier from cooling off. If you would have ground them up when they were fresh out of the oil, they would turn more into a paste, but mine are more like flakes since, like I said, they're crunchy. I didn't say earlier, but you have to make sure that your oil is definitely cooled off before you make this, just like with my garlic cloves. Otherwise, your eggs will get completely cooked and then it's not going to combine together like it should. So now I'm just adding a couple drops of lemon juice. I don't add a whole lot because I don't want there to be a huge lemon flavor. You're welcome to add more if you'd like. I will be using half a teaspoon of ground mustard, a quarter of a teaspoon of white pepper, and a quarter of a teaspoon of paprika. I know paprika is probably a little weird, but it honestly is just really delicious. And it's such a little amount that it doesn't really make a huge difference in flavor. And then I add probably about half a teaspoon of salt. I just salt to taste. I don't ever measure out my salt. So you can see now that my mayonnaise, or aioli, is really thick, like how mayonnaise is supposed to look. And then I end up deciding to add about maybe half a teaspoon of oregano in there. I figured if it was something that I was going to put on sandwiches in the future, I always put oregano on my sandwiches, so why not just throw that in there? So now it's a few hours later. I just made spaghetti and meat sauce for dinner, and I'm turning this French bread into my garlic bread that I'm going to have for my mayonnaise. I'm sorry for the way that I cut this bread. It was horrible. I know the bread gods were not happy with me. I spread a generous amount of my aioli on my bread. I mean, I've definitely seen garlic bread that is drowned in butter, where I felt like I just swallowed a whole tablespoon of butter in a small bite. It definitely wasn't that much. I decided to also add the seasoning called Herbe de Provence, or whatever it's called. It's like Herbes de Provence, but it would add just a little extra flavor. This is a close-up of my aioli. My lighting is obviously really yellow, so it makes my mayonnaise look way more yellow than usual, but it is on the more yellow side anyway because of just using egg yolks. Some mayonnaise will use both the whites and the yolks. I also wanted to point out the white specks in the aioli as well. I'm pretty sure that's from my olive oil solidifying, but it's totally fine when it comes out, and when it spread on my bread, it acted fine. There wasn't any white specks once it was spread or came to room temperature. This is my bread coming out of a 400-degree oven. It baked for about 7 minutes. So now I'm going to taste my dairy-free garlic bread. It smells very good. I mean, you don't even have to get this close to smell it, but when you get up close, you can smell like all the other herbs and everything. It smells really good. You wouldn't even guess that there's not butter on this. It's delicious. It's so good. I love garlic bread. And honestly, this is the best garlic bread I've made, and it's probably because I made my own mayonnaise. Usually I just use store-bought mayonnaise and add everything to it. This is so good. Maybe it's like the little extra love that was put into it, you know? I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make mayonnaise from scratch. Again, do not recommend doing it by hand. That was really hard. But I'm so ready to have some spaghetti and my garlic bread I made. I highly recommend making dairy-free garlic bread if you guys are obviously lactose intolerant, I'm sure, or if you're just dairy-free, if you're vegan or whatever, don't drink milk, don't like dairy, you know, whatever, up to you. Definitely try using mayonnaise. I know it's weird. Well, I guess if you're vegan, you can't use mayonnaise because there's egg yolks in it. But you could still use mayonnaise if you're just dairy-free or whatever, and it's delicious. It really does not taste like mayonnaise because it's just egg and oil, and then you have all your extra seasonings on there. It is delicious. It's so good. So try it out. Try making your own mayonnaise without all the garlic oil and everything like that. You can just use oil, egg, and vinegar. And there you go, you got mayonnaise. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!